What do I think of eugenics? I hadn't thought of it. I mean, I felt horror and dismay over what the Nazis had done with it and what Americans did with it. I think 50,000 forced sterilizations. I just disapprove of that as strongly as I can possibly say. But as far as just what eugenics is, I mean, I went to the Bible because I'm a Christian, and I think immediately, well, does the Bible say anything about it? And could be argued, in my opinion, that the Bible advises Christians to practice a sort of eugenics, be not unequally yoked with unbelievers. From the beginning, God's people were told not to intermarry with the nations around them. And why? Because God wanted godly offspring, a certain kind of offspring with a remnant of his spirit. And so people like the Nazis or like the Americans in the past tried to decide what segments of society had a right to breed and had a right to be born and to live. I mean, I think of Ben Carson, a pediatric neurosurgeon in for Johns Hopkins. I met a girl that he operated on because she had seizures. Helped her and her family tremendously, has helped a lot of people through actually his medicine and through inspiration of his life and his experience and the things that he shared. But he was born into a poor black family and had quite a problem with temper and anger and violence. Almost killed his best friend when he was younger. And it's just the sort of person that the eugenics crowd would have sterilized his mother and decided that such a genius and inspiration, would have tried to prevent it. I mean, we don't know who we're going to need or what we're going to need. We don't know what's coming. That made me think of religion and science and how there's a principle that both religious and, some religious and some secular people have. Though they describe it differently and come to it differently, I think it's wise. And religious people put it that there is a God and that you're not him. That God has his own domain over which he rules and things that he does that people should not meddle with. Secularists put it a little differently, that it's not nice to fool Mother Nature, it's nice, or to fool with her, that you should let nature run its course, that when ignorant men, and we'll never know enough, I mean, the people who carried out Nazi eugenics and the early American eugenics, they knew a lot more than what people 50 or 100 years knew before them, and they still messed it up. I mean, we comparatively, in the overall scheme of things, know almost as little as they do, and we'll never know enough to be messing with that sort of thing. That when ignorant men go parsing in amongst the genes and that sort of thing, they're going to throw off the balance of nature. They're going to disrupt nature and cause death and destruction. Whether you think that nature just came about or whether God made it, there are natural laws by which we live, by keeping them, or by disregarding them we die. And that, I think, plays more into the genetic manipulation. Because I made a video about that. I think that it should be studied. Science should study and should know as much as we can about these things. I think that there are applications for it. If things are broken, that we know from nature are supposed to be a certain way, they're just not working right, like a diabetic or like someone with bipolar disorder, where you can give them insulin or you can give them lithium. If someone with sickle cell anemia has a problem with the gene that causes that, and that can be repaired, I think that's one thing. But to go about altering or manipulating the genes is going to throw off nature. There's a gene that predisposes people to smoke. But there are people with that gene that have never smoked. And what they find is that when people with that gene never smoke, it is repaired, and their offspring are less likely to smoke. If we make these lifestyle changes that everybody keeps talking about, if we eat right, eat more fruits and vegetables and more whole grains, cut down on sugar, if we exercise more, get enough sleep, drink enough water, if we do these things and become healthier ourselves, then our offspring will be healthier and will have a better genetic disposition. And humanity will get better. Slowly, gradually, that those changes come about like they do in nature, and they will be complete all together, and nature will work in balance. That last word was balance. Also, your redistribution of wealth illustration with the French fries had its merits. It was funny and not juvenile.